I am William Rice with First American Title.
Sorry, we have more people. But...
That's okay, that's okay. I do this presentation one-on-one, and I've done it to groups of about 30 or 40. So that's okay with me. That's all right with me. Before we get started, I just want to get a little bit of an idea of who's in the crowd, right? So we know some things I can talk about, some things I can cater to, make sure that we get that discussed. Jerry, obviously you and I have worked quite a bit together. I know your story and how long you've been in the business. Can others share a little bit more about themselves, what brought you into the business, and how long you've been in the business?
Do I have to tell them how long I've been in the business? 34 years.
Okay.
Came from Michigan. I was licensed there, and then came here. God, it must be about 18. I don't know. I can't remember. I started someplace else, and I've been, because I was working management.
Okay.
Which I hated. It was okay, but I wanted to list and sell. So I moved over from what then was Prudential over here. And I've been here for quite, I don't know, 14, 15 years.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I've been licensed since 1980. I took an 18 years off to be a flight attendant for American Airlines.
Okay.
Retired, was happy as a clam. Every afternoon my husband came in, so, did you play tennis today?
Right.
What did you do today? I just drove an hour and a half in traffic. So here I am, back, and Frank is getting me
Awesome.
up to speed.
Awesome.
I've just celebrated a year.
Good. Congratulations. Congratulations. Frank?
Started selling for David Weekley in 1992 in Cinco Ranch. Then spent most of the next 20 years traveling the country with RE/MAX leading regions.
Okay.
Came into this role in July of 2013.
Awesome.
So I've been here almost 3 years now.
Awesome. You know, the great thing is that, you know, a lot of people think, well, to turbocharge your business, it's typically for newbies, right? For people who've been in the business less than 6 months, less than a year. It's great to see those who have been in the business for a while to say, okay, yeah, things are changing in the market. We're going to have to change some things up because it's not as easy as it used to be, right? Or it was the way it was at one time. And I think that's a testament to that. One of the things I talk about, and one of the things I bring to the table, is a business aspect of real estate. My background is not in real estate. My background is business. 23 years in business, mainly on the finance side. Very similar to an agent, where at the beginning I was a financial advisor, a broker, and in one-man operation. I had to market to the public to get them to trust me in many different areas so that I can handle their retirement funds, their investments, their nest egg, right? Very similar to what you do. Right? And I've taken that and built teams, right? Small teams, large teams. At one point I was over close to 500 agents across the U.S. So I bring a business aspect to the real estate side. And let's apply that business aspect to real estate, and it makes a huge difference. As a matter of fact, if you look at business owners throughout any industry, there's a very large failure rate. Does anybody know what that failure rate is within the first 5 years?
No, but doctors are the worst, I think, when it comes to businesses.
Absolutely.
They aren't taught that.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. 85% of all businesses, small businesses, fail within the first 5 years.
Wow.
And why is that? And I think that's primary. You know your industry, you know what you're talking about, you don't know the business side. I talk to a lot of CPAs and those that do taxes and help with bookkeeping with small businesses, and I ask them all the time, why do you see businesses fail? Because they don't understand the business aspect. Right? They know their business very well, but they don't know the business aspect. So this is going to kind of bring in some of that business aspect. That's what I bring to the table. When I first started doing this, I did, turbocharge your first quarter, right? And we would change it every quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Come on in. And
Sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. And really what it's all about is that any time, you don't need a quarter, you don't need a Monday, you don't need the first of the month. The time to turbocharge your business is now. The time to do anything is now, right? To wipe out that procrastination. Okay? So really, who needs to turbocharge?
Everybody.
Absolutely, I agree. Some of the things that you need to ask yourself, are you running a successful business, or is that business running you? Ouch. Absolutely, right? We need to think about that. Are you working too hard and earning too little? Are you spending too much time in your business and not enough time with your family? And I was there. for many years. I was there for many years. My family, being a dad, and I'll talk a little bit about that, why I'm here. Family is a big part, big part of my life. My kids are absolutely my life, really. I spend a tremendous amount of time with them. Kind of sad my youngest is graduating, but there's still adventures down the road. But if you're spending too much time in your business and not enough time with your family, there's some things you can do to turbocharge your business and make an adjustment to that. Are you frustrated that you aren't making the kind of progress that you'd hope for? Are you anxious about taking time off because your business can't run well without you? Are you unclear about how to take your business to the next level? These are all things you need to ask yourself, and if any of these are yes, that applies to me, you need to take a look at turbocharging your business. Right? And so what does turbocharging your business really look like? Now, everyone in here has knowledge of the real estate industry, correct? That's not a problem, right? That's not typically the problem that people have and why they're not reaching their potential. Okay? You have the knowledge. You have a tremendous amount of resources to get that knowledge. So what do they say? Knowledge is power. Okay? Everything out there tells you knowledge is power. If knowledge is power, why do we see 85% of people who know their business fail within a 5-year period? Knowledge isn't necessarily power, right? It's part of the equation, but knowledge does not necessarily equal power. Knowledge plus action equals power. And if you leave out the action, you typically fall into that 85%. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but not the action to equal the power. I would also say if you have action minus your knowledge and you're just out doing busy work and trying to stay active and do a bunch of things and not know what you're doing, that results in a disaster as well. Knowledge plus action equals power, and I take that a step further and said First American Title plus you equals power. Right? We have a tremendous amount of resources that we have and we'll talk, one of those is a little bit later. Does anyone in here deal with Facebook? Do you have Facebook presence? Okay. Did some research this week, and something that's very new with Facebook is Facebook Live. You've probably seen that in different feeds. You've seen some Facebook Live. We're going to talk about that at the end of the day. I think that could be a very huge aspect of the real estate industry if used properly. And we'll talk about why that is. But a tremendous amount of resources that can help you achieve that power. Strategy number 1 to turbocharge your business is clarify your vision. Right? Start with why. Now, there's a lot of buzzwords that go around out there, and it talks about, what is your why? Know your why. And a lot of people that I talk to, they're so tired of hearing that. It's, it's so frustrating. I know my why, I just can't put it into words. And there's a reason. I can't explain it. There's a reason why you can't explain that. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about why it's so important to know your why, to start with why. There's a gentleman that I follow, actually somewhat responsible for me being at First American Title, and that is a guy by the name of Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. He has about a 17-minute YouTube video. He has many of them, but it's his original 17-minute video, Start With Why, worth the 17 minutes to watch that. We'll talk a little bit about why he talks, why he believes why is so important. And I kind of started with this. I told you I was in the finance industry. Most recently ran a hedge fund. Had a hedge fund, managed money for people. Had a group out of Mexico that wanted to purchase the hedge fund. So we sold the hedge fund, and I was like, okay, what's next for me? I'm also a day trader by nature, so there I do day trade my own account. But I really wanted to find out what the next step in my career was. So I started taking some classes with Simon online, read some of the books that he had. One of those things is that I did, some exercises, I did what's called the circle of happiness. Right? And in one circle, you draw a circle, and then you put all the things that make you happy. The things that make you happiest, and what percentage of your life makes you happy. Right? And mine was my kids, being a dad, being involved in their life, coaching. I coached baseball for many years, right? Still keep in touch with those guys. I have 2 guys that play Major League Baseball, some that are still pitching on the collegiate level and catching on the collegiate level. And they call me all the time, so it was a very big part of my life. I didn't get paid to coach. I did that for free. and obviously we don't get paid to be a dad, right? So I had to find out what were the aspects of that that made me so happy, right? Being a leader, by example, helping them through tough times, so live by my mistakes, all those type of things that kind of fit into that can transfer into a career. So then you also take another circle and say, okay, how much of your time is spent on all of these things that make you happy? This made up 100%, and this made up about 15%. Right? So I had 85% of what I was doing on a daily basis wasn't really my passion, wasn't really why I get out of bed every morning. So I had to start making some changes, right? So I had to find a role that allowed me to use the same things that made me happy, being a dad, being a role model, learn from my mistakes, right? Learn from my experiences so that you don't have to make the same experience. Shortcuts to get you to where you need to be. And it led me to a role very similar to what I'm in today. So then I had to take a look at what company would be best for me. I wanted it to be a little bit different than finance. So, something close to but different so I could grow, continue to grow. I wanted it to be a very strong company. First American, our parent company, is 125 years old, Fortune 300 company, very stable, strong company. Very appealing to me. Okay? I started speaking with Scott Jones. Some of y'all know Scott. And it was just a match. It was a great match. And I tell you what, I love the company that I work for. I love what I do. Because of you, I get to live my why every single day. Right? If you wanted some exercises on how to start looking at your why, let me know. We'll start going through some of those. But it's very important to know that. And why is that? Simon Sinek does what we call the circle of excellence, circle of life, that he looks at this and he talks about the what, how, and why. Okay? He does it in that particular order. The what is the result. Everybody you meet, no matter what they do, knows what they do. And if you ask them, what do you do? They know, right? It's every person on the planet knows what they do. They are the products they sell as well as the services they offer. Some know how. Some know the process. Some know the fact that some people know how they do it. They are things that make them special or set them apart from their competition. I would say every major corporation out there knows what and how. The difference is the why. Very few people know their why. It's very few people know their why, what they do, how they do it, why is your purpose, cause, or belief? Why do you get out of bed every morning? And why should people care? And I use the example of Apple Computer or Apple products. Right? Every single person you go to started with Steve Jobs at the top. Every single person you go to knows why Apple's in business. Go down to one of their little stores, their Apple store, and ask them, why is Apple in business? Steve Jobs' vision was to change the world through technology. And then he goes on and says, by the way, we do that through selling computers and phones. Would you like to buy one? Huge difference than going down to Dell and say, what do? We have computers. We build computers. We build... the iPod, which really doesn't exist anymore. Some people still have an iPod. It's integrated into our phones now. Dell had a product exactly like that. It was actually a better product than what Apple had. Why didn't it take off? Because they didn't know their why. They said, here's a product, you can put music on it. Apple, on the other hand, every single person knew they wanted to change the world through technology. And they did that. They changed our world through technology and still do that today. Very big reason of starting with your why. Most people think from the outside in. They know what they do, they know how they do it, and maybe they know why, but that's kind of really vague. Okay? Those most successful start from the outside or inside out. They know why they do, they know how they do it, and they know what they do. Okay? They wanted to change the world with technology. This is how we do it, and we do it with computers and phones and things of that nature. Big difference in how we approach business. Why is that so different than anything else? Why does that make a difference to the average person? The reason why is it's not necessarily business, but it's biological. This is also a cross-reference of our brain, the way we think. The outside is a neocortex of our brain called the neocortex. The neocortex is for rational and analytical thinking. It also determines our language. The inside is known as our limbic brain. The limbic brain is all of our feelings like trust and loyalty, all human behavior and decision making, no capacity for language whatsoever. Have you ever been with the client, you walk into a home and they say, this just feels right. This feels like home. Chances are they're going to purchase or at least place an offer on that home. Right? The reason why you can't explain your why is because where our why is in our limbic brain and there's no capacity for language. I don't know what it is, I just have this feeling. So we've got to be able to talk to this inside portion with the clients that we work with. Why? Because that's where our feelings of trust and loyalty come from and all decision making is made. That's why is so important. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If they just needed an agent, they can go to anybody, right? We have plenty of agents around. They go to you because they can connect with you and they feel your why. TurboCharge your business strategy number 2 is to set clear goals, a roadmap. Now, I talk to a lot of agents, new, experienced, all along the gamut. When I'm talking to new agents, when we sit down, one of the things we talk about is, what are some of your goals? What do you think the number one answer is I get when we start talking about income? What would you like to make your first year?
The dollar amount.
What do you think the dollar amount is that I hear?
Something astronomical.
100,000.
Yeah.
Always hear 100,000.
Good luck.
Okay. It's easy. I can do this part-time.
Yeah, right.
It's 100,000. We start going through some exercises and we go down to, through their splits and where they're going to concentrate and what price of homes and all that stuff. And we come down to the number of transactions they need to do. Then what do you think they say? Oh, maybe we should try 60. Let's see what 60 looks like, right? It's not as easy as it seems, right? It is a difficult job. It takes time to put into it, right? You need to have a roadmap to get there. Now, I use that $100,000 figure. Anyone in here from Oklahoma? Uh-oh. One.
Tulsa born.
Tulsa. So you may know where this place is. It's actually where my parents grew up. It's where they met in high school. They're still married, going 56 years now.
That's rare.
It is. They're awesome. It's the greatest love story I've ever seen in my life. It seems like they're more in love today than they've ever been, which is pretty awesome. Their son, I'm divorced twice, so go figure, right?
Something happened.
Sign of the times, right? I don't know. But they grew up in Chickasha, Oklahoma. Do you know?
I know where Chickasha is.
Goodness.
Been there
Well, you're not allowed to be in this discussion. Chickasha, Oklahoma. If I put a bag of money in the McDonald's in Chickasha, Oklahoma, it was $100,000, and I said, okay, the first person there gets to keep it. You may jump in your car with technology today, but you're pulling up your GPS to see where Chickasha, Oklahoma is. You know to head north, right? But somewhere along the line, you're going to pull up your roadmap to get there. Same thing with business, right? You've got to have your map. You've got to have your roadmap to get to where you're going. And that's your goals, your marketing plan. Everything goes into your roadmap on how you're going to get there. Road to success. 3 critical areas of success. Number 1 is you need to have the desire to be successful in what you're doing. Sadly to say, in any industry you go to, only 90% really have the desire to be successful. And what does that say about our workplace?
You're really successful and you really have the desire until you find out what it takes to be successful.
Right? Exactly. So only 20% have the willingness to be successful. And only 2% put a roadmap together to reach that. Have you ever heard the 80-20 rule? 20% of any industry does 80% of the business. Real estate's probably 90-10, right? 90% of the business is done by the top 10% of the agents. Doesn't mean there's not business to be had, right? But there's a reason why that is. There's a Harvard Business School study that started in 1979. Now you would think Harvard Business, which is some of the greatest business minds thought of in the world, would have all of this down. Right? 1979, 3% of the graduates had a written set of goals. Only 3% had a written set of goals. 13% had goals, but not in writing. It's in my head, right? I know what I want to do. It's in my head. 84% had no goals at all. So I'm sitting here telling you need to have goals, but 84% of Harvard graduates didn't have goals. Why are the goals so important?
If you write them down, it makes a difference.
Absolutely, and this is going to show that. Fast forward 10 years after graduation, the 13% who had goals but not in writing were earning twice as much as those that had the 84% that didn't have any goals at all. What about the top 3%? The 3% who had clear written goals were earning 10 times as much as the other 97% combined. Do written goals really make a difference? I actually did an update on this story. 25 years later, that 3% was making 50 to 100 times as much as the other 97% combined. Written goals make a huge difference. Written goals make a huge difference, right? Build your database. Now, we'll go ahead with this. I'm going to come back to something. Build your database. How many of you have a database? Awesome, right? How do you reach out to that database?
Different ways. Email,
Okay.
monthly mailings. I belong to the committee, so.
Okay, awesome.
Of course, goals is his big thing, so.
Absolutely.
Stopping and seeing them, having a couple of parties a year.
Good,
So
awesome.
it's 1-to-1.
Right there, hit it on the head,
Yeah.
right? You can do tons of emails. You can do nothing replaces that one-on-one.
No.
Nothing replaces that one-on-one. It could be family, friends, your network, past clients, religious clubs, organizations. All of that, to some degree, makes up your database, your sphere of influence combined, right? One thing that a lot of people do not think about is sit down and write down who your ideal client is. Who is your ideal client? Where do they live? What do they do? What are their age? What are their beliefs? What are their interests? Chances are it's very similar to your own, right? It's those you connect with. All we need to do is duplicate that. If that's the ones you have more success with, let's duplicate that. Whatever that may be, we have some tremendous resources that we can put in all kinds of criteria and get a list of people. I did one with someone the other day. I think it was 77381 zip code we were looking at. There was 11,300 and something houses. You don't want to, I guess you could if you wanted to, at mass marketing, 11,000 people. Okay. We put in some very specific criteria and dropped it all the way down to about 370. He has a higher probability of dealing with those 370 and marketing to them versus marketing to the entire 11,000, right? More bang for his buck, specific message to those that he's speaking to. Same thing with your ideal client. Know who that ideal client is, and let's duplicate that. Let's find more of those. All of you in here have been in business for a long time, so you probably have come across some version of this. But I tell people it's not necessarily in your best interest to do business with every single person who needs your service. Do business with those who believe what you believe, okay, that you connect with. If you do business with everyone who needs your service, it leads to a lot of stress and takes you away from your why. Do business with those who believe what you believe and have that connection with, those that you want to do business with, leads more to a passion, right? If you work every single day on something you have no belief in, that's stress. You work every single day on something that you have a passion for, that you believe in, that's when things really start kicking off. We talked about that mass marketing versus target marketing. The days of mass marketing are gone. You have to be very precise in your target marketing. We talked about that group. I said 11,000 something homes. We narrowed it down to 370. We narrowed it down to 370 by finding a few different things about those particular individuals so that we had a pretty good idea that they were high probability buyers and sellers over the next 6 to 18 months. That's who you want to target to. Narrow your target market, high probability buyers and sellers over the next 6 to 18 months. And how do we do that? Number one, you want to find someone who can sell their home. Okay. What do we mean by someone who can sell their home? Someone that has enough equity in their home. Right? Whatever that percentage is, I typically start with 20 or 30%, right? And move up from there. Okay? There are some sweet spots that we can take a look at. Number two, we want to find somebody who wants to sell their home. What are some criteria we can look at for somebody who wants to sell their home?
Moving up, moving down, retiring.
Right? Moving up, moving down fits the next criteria, but that's very good to think about. Right? Transfer.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this. If someone lives in their home for 6 months, are they really wanting to sell their home?
More than likely.
Okay. What time frame is typically a good sweet spot for the time in their home? 5? Okay. 5 years is right on, right? I say 4 to 9 years, and we can kind of drill it down from there, right?
Yeah, it's gotten longer.
It has. It has.
Yeah.
You get some that have gotten, but you also get to the point that once they've been there 12, 13, 14, 15, outside of certain circumstances, they're probably going to be there, right? So we don't want to market to someone and spend those marketing dollars on someone who may not be that high probability buyer or seller. The next thing we want to look at is who needs to sell their home. That's the upsizing, downsizing, right? For this particular group, what we looked at was in that 77381 that was 11,000 plus homes. We looked at those that had 20% more of equity in their home. They've been in their home 4 to 9 years. They had presence of children, preteen children, and they lived in a 2,500 square foot or smaller home. You think that pretty much covers who can sell, who wants to sell, and who needs to sell? Now you can have a specific target market, and your marketing message should speak directly to them. Is it time for the second floor? Is it time for another room? Are you getting crowded? Right? Lisa Roth does an amazing postcard, which has a bird cage, speaks directly to this group, has a bird cage that's kind of bulges out in the middle, and there's a cat inside the bird cage, filling up, and he's real furry, and he kind of sticks out. It says, it's time for more room. Right? Do you think that catches people's eyes? Do you think that's different than a just sold or just listed? Absolutely it is, right? There's more of a chance that that gets read versus thrown in the trash. Okay? That's the type of marketing we need to look at when we talk about building your database and marketing to that database. How many of you rank your database? Good. Different ways to do that, okay? Essentially what you're looking at is which are more profitable to you. That 80-20 rule that we talked about, okay? 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business. Same thing with your database. And it may even be 10, right? 10% of your database is sending you 90% of your referrals. We need to identify who those are, right? Maybe it's A, B, C, D.
Yeah, that's what Buffini does.
Mm-hmm.
A plus, A, B, C. When you come to D, delete.
Right, right, right. Well, you know what? A little twist on that is I don't necessarily delete, because if you delete them, those are the ones that find every way possible to get back in, right? And just to take as much, but they're never giving, right? It's a two-way street there, right? I do a little bit different ranking. I played baseball in college, and as I said, I coach baseball and love baseball, and so I do major league, AAA, AA, single A, right? Again, it's just a little more entertaining for me to keep up with, right? So ranking your database is very important. Those at your A's, you want to cater to them, right? Or your A pluses or your major league players. Cater to them. Do something extra for them, right? You're doing more for them and reaching out to them more often than you are the D's, right? Or the C's. Right? Another way to divide that is leaders and followers. Now, when I say leaders, typically every agent, because you believe in your database, I had a database full of leaders. The leaders I'm talking about are a little bit different. For every 100 you have in your database, you may have 2 or 3. Those leaders I'm talking about are those that everyone else calls when they need advice on where to go for a plumber, for someone to fix their fence, for a painter, for a wedding cake, for a seamstress. You have people like that in your database. Those are your leaders. Okay? You have 2 or 3 for every 100. Those people, you really need to care. They may have never sent you any business, but you know them and they're very well in contact and people trust them and they pick up the phone to call them. Heard a story of a tow truck driver, right? Just to kind of put it in perspective, because leader doesn't necessarily mean it's CEO of Exxon. Tow truck driver in a small town, everybody called him for everything. great person to have under your database. Market to him. Right? Instead of a birthday card, send a birthday cake to his work with plenty of your cards on it. Right? I had somebody that did that and put little flags all over it, but the flag was a miniature version of their card. They say, oh, who sent you this? Happy birthday. Who sent you? Then my realtor sent it to me.
Yeah, send it to the office, right?
Absolutely. Get more out of it, right? Those type of things. Maybe a special dinner, right? Spend time with them. Because if anybody calls them and says, hey, do you know anybody that in real estate that can help me sell my home or look at this house I'm thinking about? Who's he going to think about?
You want a real inexpensive idea?
Sure.
Mother's Day. I've always sent out cards.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of years, I like 20 mothers or 15, I think it was 15. Just a small bar of special soap wrapped in tissue paper, and if they weren't home, I just left at the door of the card. I had text messages all weekend. It was like, gave them $1 million, but it was that somebody else besides their family thought of them, and the one gal texted me and said, I had a horrible day and I got this package on my front porch. I can't believe you thought of it.
Absolutely.
It was a $2 bar of soap.
You're
know,
right. But you took the time and you had the thought.
That's what one of them said, because I had to go out to Wood Forest, and they said, I can't believe.
Life is
One
busy.
of course, one of the mother, they weren't home, and the mother was there. She was Hispanic, and she didn't understand that I don't know you. She would
Right.
love me, so I had to leave it at the front door. So, but it's inexpensive.
Absolutely.
It's crazy the things you can think of that don't cost you money.
Is that what Lufini calls a Popeye?
Yes, he calls it a Popeye.
Man, I've been trying to figure that out.
Sorry.
When it comes to these leaders, one of the most important things is, yes, they you can call them up and say, hey, thanks for the referral. That doesn't mean as much to them. When they send you a referral, what do they want to make sure that happens?
That you're going to take care of it.
That they're going to take care of it. So when you sit down with that client, say, hey, next time you talk to Jerry, will you thank him for setting us up? And so if that client now goes back and says, hey, Jerry, thanks for introducing me to William, that's going to be more to them than you saying, hey, I appreciate the referral. Because they know that person was taken care of, and they're just going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming. Very important when it comes to leaders and followers. Develop an effective marketing strategy. That kind of is that specific message talking directly to whatever database you have narrowed down. Right? That narrow strategy speaks directly to your target market. Now, if I'm looking for that small family that has a smaller home looking to upsize, baseball player, very involved with my kids, I'm going to have a picture of a dad playing catch with one of his kids in the front yard. You're speaking to the emotional side. They know they got to move at some point, right? They know that that's going to happen. Now you're just trying to touch their emotional side so that you're talking directly to them, so when that time comes, they call you, and hopefully that time comes, you're kind of pushing them in the right direction. You cannot be all things to all people. When you're too vague, you speak to no one. Okay? Now, and I know a lot of people have this is the guy from outside the real estate industry. I know a lot of people believe in the just listed, just sold postcards that go out. I do know I've gotten a ton of them at my house over the years, and I've never used a single agent from it. And a lot of those go in the trash. But if someone started talking to me about my kids and my family, and they knew my situation, I'm going to read that card. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to probably make a phone call when the time comes. Because that's somebody I can relate to. Make sense? How can you solve their problem? Okay. They're in a small house. They have a lot of kids. They have kids. They need a bigger house. They can help solve that problem. You're speaking directly to them. Understand their wants and needs. I know that they have kids, and I've been there. I've had kids in a smaller home. I know that you're going to be moving to a bigger home. Right? I can relate to that. Whoever your ideal client is, the target you're speaking to can do the same. Create that emotional bond. Right? That emotional bond. The why, what, and how. Start with your why, go down to your what and your how. Right? Work backwards. Make it smaller. Right? We talked about making goals, right? What is your 5-year goal? How many in here have a 5-year goal? You can raise your hand. That's kind of like, well, maybe I
I'm
do.
going to be out of it in 5 years.
That's a goal. That's a goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of you have a 3-year goal, a 1-year goal, quarterly goal, monthly goal, weekly goal, all the way down to a daily? Everything you do on a daily basis reaches your weekly goal. Whatever you're doing weekly reaches your monthly, your quarterly, and so forth. How many of you read the book Eat the Frog First?
Yeah.
Great book. Great book, right? But it's principles that stick and talk about procrastination, right? How many of you make a list every day of what you need to do today? Awesome.
If
Awesome.
I have to, I forget. I'm old.
Right? But it also keeps you on track. At any age, you should do that.
It just keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, right.
That's all I need.
Some people say write down 3 specific goals. 3 things that you have to do today. I'll tell you one of the first things I do when I make a list, because usually my list goes on and on that I need to do. I find 3 things that aren't so important and I mark them off.
I prioritize them.
Absolutely. That's kind of what this is, right? I find the 3 things on a list of 10 that, you know what, if I don't get it done tomorrow, it's not the end of the world. Right? I want to get it done, I want to get to it, but if it's not the end of the world, and I mark it off. And then prioritize. That's all what about Eat the Frog First is. Right? Do anybody know where that comes from, by the way? Eat the Frog First? You know, Brian Tracy does a lot of stuff on Eat the Frog. Actually comes from Mark Twain. Mark Twain had a quote that went something like, if first thing in the morning you eat a live frog, you know that's the worst thing that's going to happen that day. It can only get better.
Yuck.
It can only get better. And so people started taking that and applying it to business.
So, William, the corollary to that is if you have to eat more than one frog, eat the biggest one.
There you go. Absolutely. That's right. That's right. Right?
That's good.
The thing you dread the most is what you want to do first. Okay? Some of you may be making phone calls, calling a difficult client, going to a TurboCharge business first thing on a Monday morning, right? Whatever that may be. Okay? You also need to have accountability. How many of you have an accountability partner?
It's my son who works with me. And
Okay.
That's worse than anybody.
Hey, that's okay.
I got the worst you can have, ain't the son. Partner.
Well, he's both. That's the problem.
Right.
And he was in corporate, so
Yep.
he's the business thinking
That's awesome.
side of it more
Mhm.
so. Although I existed for a long, long time without
Mhm.
that category, I guess I was doing all right. But he's the one that stops and says, "Wait a minute, what's this going to cost? Is it going
Right.
to bring us the?" Yeah.
And that's great. You've got to have a
Big thing
P&L,
to see.
right? You've got to have a P&L of it. And let's say whatever marketing you're doing, you need to have some type of way of tracking whether that's working or not. Okay, that's another P&L type of figure, right? You don't want to do the same postcard over and over and over for months and months and months and you never get a call. Why are we still doing it? Change it up. Okay? Have some little code if you're doing postcards or flyers. Have a code on there so that when they call you, they can give you that code. You know what's working. Okay? Maybe it's a certain picture you have. Hey, what was the picture on front? Now you know which one is working for you. Okay? Accountability is a huge thing. Okay? All kinds of studies have been done. When you have someone to answer to, accountability partner, from working out all the way up to business. Okay? If you're going to work out in the morning, January, gyms are full, right? February, March, we have the great intentions of working out and getting in shape.
That's so true.
If you want to join a gym, February or March is usually a really good time. They have discounts because people are stopping, leave the gym, right?
Join for $1 right now, $10 a month.
Exactly, how we are in May.
Honey, I've got one better than that. I pay
Oh.
$21 a year for 1 year.
Hey, I like that membership.
Every year I renew it, $21 a year.
You should renew it at that price.
That's
That's
right.
great.
I got it at the right time.
Yeah.
Discipline is everything, right? We can put the things in place, but if you don't have the discipline to follow it or do reality checks along the way, it makes it very difficult to actually follow through and be where we want to be on 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now. Right? Now, obviously, being in real estate, we got to take a look at that, right? Our 1 year goal, if our 1 year goal is to do 24 houses, it's not just 2 a month. Right? Doesn't really work out that way, right?
No.
We know that January, February a little bit slower. This January was actually really slow, right? Starting to pick up and do great now, right? But what we're seeing is we've had 2 back-to-back months that have blown last year out of the water. Okay? I like to think that part of that is me bringing in business that didn't do business with us in the past, but part of it is the market that we're in. Okay. Will you take action? And this is really the key here. Right? Knowledge plus action equals power. What steps will you take in the next days, weeks, months? The reality is if you don't do something today, which maybe a nugget you got today, you're not going to use it. And that's with anything you go to. Right? Any training you do, they say that only 2 to 3% will actually act on the information they receive. That means that 98% show up to a seminar, show up to a workshop, and never use what they learn from it.
That's true.
You know, if you're not going to put some things in motion, there's probably something you could have done better with an hour of your time this morning, right? Do something. If you need an accountability partner, you need some more information, reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. My primary role is to help you grow your business. Help you grow your business. Which brings me to another point. I'm a little bit different than other title company reps. You know, I'm not your Margarita Monday guy, right? I'm not your donut drop guy. Now, we will have donuts, we will have margaritas to celebrate. Okay? But to earn your business, I want to help you grow your business. Okay? I want to be a partner in your business. Why is that? Where do you start? My goal is to help you get the results you want one step at a time. Okay? Knowledge plus action equals power. Okay? Now, when it comes to turbocharge your business, any business aspect, because I want to get into something right at about 45 minutes, and I want to get into something on regarding Facebook Live before we leave, just a quick little information about it. Any questions we have on business-related, turbocharging, tools we have, anything of that nature? Nothing? Okay. Now, one thing I will ask you is we have a tremendous amount of resources that we have access to. I have a lot of classes at my office and throughout. I want to have the classes that you're interested in. If there's something you're interested in, whether it be business related, real estate related, we just had Dawn in and it did a home warranty class, 1 hour MCE class for us. We have Steve Naklis that comes here as well. He does some things at my office as well. But we have a tremendous amount of resources. If there's a class that you would like to have that you haven't seen, or maybe you've seen, you want to see it again, nobody's holding it, let me know. I'll find an expert to come in and do it. One we're working on right now is with the constable's office on agent safety. Right? Big deal. Right? So we're going to have a class on agent safety. Some people have asked if we could do a CHL class, which is it's not CHL anymore. It's not concealed handgun.
Concealed weapon.
Concealed weapon permit. Yeah. So some of them have asked that. We've got a guy that does that, teaches that class, but that class is also MCE accredited. So that's a pretty good deal. Okay. So if you see anything, let me know when it comes to that. Okay. Now let me jump right over here into Facebook Live. How many of you are on Facebook? Awesome. How many of you stay active on Facebook?
I find out so much on it.
Okay. How many of you are familiar with how Facebook operates as far as its algorithm of who sees what? Okay. Now you may have okay. Let me ask you this: how many of you have a personal page and a business page? Okay, everyone. Now, I get kind of slapped on the hand sometimes when I say this because everyone says, "Oh, you got to have a business page, you got to have a personal page." If you're going to have a business page and a personal page, make sure you can run both of them.
Make sure you what?
Make sure you can run and operate both of them. If you have a business page that you're never posting on or posting once a week, it's not doing you any good. Right? You may have 500, you may have 1,000 likes on your page. If you don't have interaction with those who are on your page, they're not seeing what you post. Just because you have 1,000 likes doesn't mean that 1,000 people see everything you post. Okay? You got to have interaction. You got to understand the algorithm, which they changed their algorithm. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay? We have a ton of things going on in our life, right? We have things coming in from all different directions. Live streaming can play a big role in some of the things we do, right? Live streaming on Facebook can be one of the best things that you pick up in this quarter. It could be one of the best things you pick up this year, okay? And we'll talk about why that is. It's getting harder and harder to capture and retain attention of our customers and prospects. Right? We're getting tons of emails. Our attention spans are getting shorter. They say that we get 85 business emails each day. Y'all are probably right along with that. How many of you look through every single email and read? We just don't have the time to do that, right? We just don't have the time to do that. Whose attention span is longer? Who would you think?
Probably younger kids.
They would say right now, our average person's attention span is 8 seconds.
Oh, jeez.
If you can't capture their attention in 8 seconds, you're probably not going to capture them. A goldfish, on the other hand, has an attention span of 8.5 seconds. You have more of a chance of attracting a goldfish's attention. Of course, they're not going to buy or sell a house from you, right? So we got to come up with better ways to capture attention. For every 100 emails you send, there's a conversion rate of about 1.5%, meaning you get a response or someone to show up or take action of about 1.5%. Very low conversion rate. We need to change the way we communicate. And I think Facebook Live can be a big way in which we change the way we communicate. Live streaming is nothing new. Some of you may have had some live streaming experience in the past. But Facebook with live streaming is going to change the way we reach our customers and the way they see what we do. Facebook has 1.6 billion total users, right? So we have the ability to reach people. They have 1.4 billion mobile users, over 1 billion daily active users, and 900 million daily active mobile users. That's a lot of people on Facebook. As of March 1st, Facebook changed its newsfeed ranking algorithm, how things show up. Facebook wants to compete with YouTube. There's a lot of videos that come from YouTube placed on Facebook. They want to do away with that and actually have Facebook Live be where your videos are created. Okay? Because of that, they've moved all videos with live streaming move higher in your feed. You have 500 people, more people will see that if you're live streaming. Okay? People spend 3 times more time watching a Facebook Live video than watching regular video. People comment 10 times more on Facebook Live videos. Now, the great thing about Facebook Live, if you're not aware, is it's live. It's the videos going as it's, they're seeing it as it's happening. In the comment section, they can ask a question, you can answer it. When we had some of the storms here recently, a lot of the news weathermen around did live streaming, and people were asking, hey, what's happening in the Woodlands? When should we prepare for that storm to hit? And they were answering those questions. Okay? Great way to look at Facebook Live.
Does the video have any shelf life after the live event is done?
Yes, you can actually post it to your page, and it can stay on there and get additional comments. People can actually watch that video afterward. What is Facebook Live? Facebook Live is not a video production. There's no editing, right? And that's a reason why a lot of people stay away from video. I don't want to edit. There's no editing. It's live. It's ready to roll. Facebook Live videos rolled out to personal profiles on January 28th. Business profiles about a month ago. So your business page, you can do Facebook Live videos on your Facebook page now, on your Facebook page. Okay. Tips before you go live. Set a schedule and be consistent. Okay. Now, I think a great opportunity is going to be open houses. Before an open house goes live, you can go through the house. This is where we're at today. You can have comments. Let people know I'm doing an open house. You're very good about telling them about the open house and when it's going to be. Say we're going to do a Facebook live stream right at the beginning of the open house. Okay? I think it can be a tremendous asset for you. Make sure you put your phone in airplane mode with Wi-Fi. The reason why is because if you get a call, it's going to disconnect you. And there's no getting it back. It's going to disconnect your live video feed. So, or maybe it's on your iPad where you don't, take completely off any calls coming in. Check your lighting. Make sure the lighting is okay, right? That they can see what you're doing. Stabilize your video. I think a tripod is great, right? Rather than just handheld. Get a better audio quality. Make sure you have, if you can get an external mic. Even your little headset from your iPhone works fine, right? You just kind of pin it to you or something and have a microphone there for you so it doesn't sound like you're in a whale speaking, right? That's just a picture of external mic that you can use. Tell fans you're broadcasting ahead of time. Let them know that you're broadcasting, right? Just like you're letting them know about an open house. Tweet about it if you're doing tweeting, and let them know that you're going to have a live event. If you're on LinkedIn, let them know that. Use all media resources that you can. How do you do it? Okay? You need to make sure you have a strong connection. Okay? If you have some questions on that, there are some things you can download. Speedtest.com or Speedtest app will tell you what that download speed that you have. You want to make sure it doesn't have to be, it's not like it's got to be top of the world, but there's a certain minimums that you need to make sure that you're attesting to. The Speedtest app is in the App Store or Google Play. If you lose connection while live, it says find a better signal, but it's gone, right? Now, if it's gone, you can go in and delete it so it's no longer on your page, right? If it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. First couple of ones may not, right? So you can go in and delete that. Choose the Facebook Live icon. So when you go in to make to post a status, you will see this icon. That's the Facebook Live icon. If you do not see that icon, download the latest update for Facebook, and you will have that on there. Okay? So all you do is click on that live icon. The Facebook Live launch screen will come up. You can name it. You can name it and put what you want. You hit go live. Okay? And when you hit go live, you're going to see it kind of go down, 3, 2, 1, and you're like, oh no, here we go, right? But it's okay. Choose the target audience. Now you can actually broadcast this to everyone in your list, or you can choose a target audience on who you want it to go to, right? I can show you how to set that up ahead of time so that you know who you're going to. In other words, if you're on a personal page versus a business page and you want to do that and you only want those that are involved in, maybe you have some real estate agent friends that, maybe you don't want to broadcast this particular one to, or whatever it may be, right? And that's where you can go through who should see this. You can go through and, if you have that broken down ahead of time, you can click on who needs to see the audience. You'll get a little 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you're live. What to do during your live stream? Say hello to the fans. You can see them logging on. You can see them come into the live feed, and as they're watching. When they do, talk to them. Mention them. Right? People love that. Right? Ask viewers to subscribe. There'll be a subscribe button, very important. Right? Just mention in there, hey, up in the top left-hand or top right-hand corner, you'll see the subscribe button. Hit that. What that does is, anytime you go live, thereafter, it's going to send them a notification. Will at First American Title is live right now.
So if they don't know about this and they're just scrolling through Facebook and you're doing a live feed, as they come down the news feed, they're going to see you talking live?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's just going to be in the news. If you selected them to be part of that, to where they could see that, then they're just scrolling that. And if they haven't subscribed and they weren't there from the beginning, they can just pick up from where you are.
So how will you know they're watching?
It'll show, you'll see a screen. Your screen looks a little bit different, and it'll show you who is on. You get all of the analytics.
So if they're just scrolling down their news feed and they stop and like, what in the world is going on? You're going to be notified?
Well, they'll click on it and it'll go to a different screen. If they're just scrolling, they won't. But or if they comment, obviously you see that.
Let me ask you something. While you're doing that, they may get in the middle of it and not see the first part. Is that correct?
That's correct. Now that's why you want to you announce it and let them know that from the beginning. Now they can always, after you publish it at the end, can go back and watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Because when you publish it at the end, it's going to your Facebook page.
Okay.
Okay, and then they can go back and watch it. Now you won't be able to live answer any questions at that point, right? But they can go through and see the comments and the questions and things of that nature. Yeah. So this is the notice they will get once they subscribe, right? Whatever you put on there. He's, in this particular case, he's live walking in Hawaii. Check out this beach, whatever it may be. Publish, save your live stream on your camera roll. What to do after it's over, right? You can pick highlights, right? You can leave it just as it is. You can pick highlights and repost to other social media, right? If you use Twitter, if you use Instagram, things of that nature, right? You can edit your video info after the live stream. In other words, if you want a certain thumbnail to be the main thing they see when they come down, the category, the call to action, your URL, things of that nature. You can embed either a Facebook post itself or just the video. Amplify the reach and visibility through Ads Manager by creating a video ad for your live broadcast. Okay? We'll talk about some of these things for those that have an interest. 13 ways to use Facebook Live. You can improve transparency and humanize your brand. Right? One of the big things I talk about as far as your business page or your personal page. If you have a business page, Facebook, definitely add some personal touch to that. People do business with people that they trust and they can connect with. Okay? So make sure that you're doing some of those things on the personal side. Offer expert home buying tips, giving advice to home sellers, showcasing life at the office, telling personal professional stories, introducing your team, introducing yourself, breaking news in the industry, breaking news in the community. Okay? Great Facebook Live events. Community involvement, right? Blog posts, spending time with family and friends, reviewing local businesses, answering leads and questions, conducting client interviews. Okay? I think what's not on there is open houses. I think open houses can be a huge hit. Sending that out to those that may be looking. April 6th was the big rollout for business pages. Okay, so we're live on that. Okay. You will also get these metrics for your video, right? Your audience, the people in your audience, the minutes viewed, how many minutes, total minutes viewed, unique viewers, how many views, 10-second plus views, average percent completion, right? In other words, how many people that watched it to the end. These are great things to know, right? And all of this comes to you at no cost. That's a great thing, right? It doesn't cost you anything to do this. Go live on Facebook groups, Facebook events, if you're involved in any Facebook events or groups. Okay? You can live reactions, replay comments, live filters. Filter meaning that you can change the black and white. You can change different filters that it may look through there. You can actually write. Now, this is something you can actually do. You can actually write on that. And does anyone know an app that you can do that on where you can take a picture or video, you can write on it? It's another app that Facebook's trying to compete with. YouTube, obviously, right? Does anyone ever use Snapchat? Okay, that's usually the younger crowd, right? My kids love that stuff. They go to Snapchat because parents are all on Facebook now, so they never go to Facebook. And that's a lot of your millennials will do that, right? But Facebook is allowing you to write things on, post things, whatever that may be, as a competing with Snapchat. So this is trying to take the market from Snapchat and from YouTube. You can invite friends, live video, destination, live map. You can go into live, and it will actually bring up a map of any of your friends that are doing a live presentation at that particular time. Okay? Tell your friends about this so that they can pull up of where you're at and what you're doing. That's one of our 10 reasons why Facebook Live will win. It's very simple. Okay? You can get notifications. Those who subscribe can get notified when you're actually on Facebook Live. There's a timeline, right? It can go to your timeline. Sidebars, you can replay. Targeting, you can target the market of the people that you want to see this particular event. You have those that can share it, right? If you have those leaders that you have, right, in your database that actually share your live feed, then it goes, and then the people they see it, can lead to a high amount of referrals. Engagement. Now this says a 90-minute time limit. 90 minutes is going to be quite long, in my opinion. I think you want to make sure it has some length to it, though. I would say a minimum of 10 minutes. Because then you get people that can come on and they can actually ask questions and you can answer them and things of that nature. And then it also has the subscribe feature. I personally think video has always been something that agents should do. But I think Facebook Live takes it to another level. Simply because of where it puts you in the algorithm. More people are going to see you, okay, by using Facebook Live. Entertain, educate, entice. That's really what all you need to do. Okay? Don't worry about, I hear a lot of people tell me, I don't like the way I look on video. Well, that's the way you look in real life. Okay? That's the way people see you. Be yourself. It doesn't need to be edited. That's what people are looking for. That's the entertainment value of it. Educate and entice. Okay? Do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. That's what Disney used to always say. Right? Now, with that, I'm actually going to be using Facebook Live. I'm using it as an event to pull together the knowledge of my office. My office, we have over, and again, I have 0 years escrow experience. I haven't hit the 1 year mark. But in my office, there's over 101 years of experience. I want to take that and use that as much as possible. On Wednesday of this week at 9 a.m., from our First American Title, the Woodlands page, we are going to be doing At the Closing Table with Kim Hicks. Kim is going to be answering questions on closing, issues that you may have come across, anything, and then we'll talk about some common things that come up. And I'm hoping for this to be a regular event. I will put out the notice each week on what that will be. We'll post it on our Facebook page of when we will have that. But this week, I know we're at 9 o'clock. Depending on closings from week to week, we'll have to change that. But right now, this week, we'll be at 9 o'clock. Now, I have told Kim it would be 10 to 15 minutes. And if anybody knows Kim, she just hates getting on video, but she is so passionate about escrow that I think she's going to do an amazing job. I told her 10 to 15 minutes, but if it goes longer and we have more people, I'm hoping it'll turn into about a 20 to 30 minute segment every week. Like I said, I'll send out a notice. If you can't make it at that time, you have some questions about escrow, send it to me. We're going to start off the little live event answering some of those questions of people who couldn't be there. And then we'll get into live questions. So anything you have from an escrow standpoint, tune in and see what we're talking about. If you have any questions on Facebook Live, business in general, reach out to me. Like I said, that's what I'm here for. Yes?
You told us